Welcome to the US Daily Brief channel. Ukraine aims to become the Russian Navy's new nightmare, with long-range anti-ship missiles from its Western allies. Brimstone, Harpoon and Neptune strike missiles placed on the Ukrainian coast completely prevent the warships of the Russian Navy from approaching the Odessa offshore. After the losses suffered around Snake Island in the last month, Russia started to patrol the region with fast attack boats. Even Russian missile cruisers cannot approach the area. But one thing that is within Russia's plans is to bombard western Ukraine from the sea. The main purpose of this is to prevent Ukraine from focusing entirely on the east, and to keep its measures in the west constant. Just for this reason, 5 large landing craft are kept by Putin in the Black Sea offshore. The role of these landing craft is to keep alive the possibility of a possible Russian landing in Odessa. In addition, Russian missile ships, which cannot approach the Ukrainian shores, are bombing Ukrainian cities from the middle of the Black Sea. In addition, many of the 6 submarines in the Russian Black Sea Fleet are in the Black Sea, and a few of them have been firing cruise missiles at Ukrainian cities for the last 20 days. The Russian Navy is probably using the submarines against the Ukrainian anti-ship missiles and the Bayraktar TB2 threat. So what is the mission of Russian submarines in the Black Sea, and how many of these submarines? It was recently announced by the Russian Navy that 2/3 of the combat-ready submarines of Russia's Black Sea Fleet are on duty at sea. In the photos shared from the Sevastopol docks, it was seen that only 2 of the submarine docks were full last month. In other words, it is observed that 4 Russian submarines urgently went to sea after the Moskva flagship was hit in April and Bayraktar TB2 fleet hunted Russian Navy ships on the Snake Island in early May. In total, the Russian Black Sea Fleet has 6 submarines in the port of Sevastopol. These were the submarines of the Varshavyanka project, and the submarines at the Sevastopol quay were B-261 Novorossiysk, B-237 Rostov-on-Don, B-262 Stary Oskol, B-265 Krasnodar, B-268 Veliki Novgorod, and B-271 Kolpino. It is also known that Russian submarines that sail into the Black Sea use Kalibr-type cruise missiles to be used in sea and land attacks, in addition to mine and torpedo weapons. 2 of the 4 submarines that left Sevastopol are reported to have attacked the Ukrainian cities of Lviv and Odessa. The main reason why Russian submarines are used to bombard the Ukrainian coast is the long-range anti-ship missiles used by the Ukrainian armed forces, as we have just mentioned. With the arrival of these missiles in the region, Russia cannot bring its warships closer to the Ukrainian shores and has activated its submarines for attacks. It is known that 2 of the 4 Russian submarines in the Black Sea are located in a region close to the central Black Sea off the Yelin Island and bombarded the Eastern European border with cruise missiles. While the exact location of the other 2 Russian submarines could not be determined, it is stated that one of them is guarding the Strait exit in the western Black Sea and the other is patrolling around the Crimea, considering the published intelligence reports and the latest signals. Russian submarine patrols in the western Black Sea are not the first activity. Russia is always on the alert against any NATO threat that may come from the straits and conducts submarine patrols in the region at regular intervals. While these are happening in the Black Sea, conflicts in the east continue with increasing violence. Ukrainian and Russian artillery mutually beating each other's positions. The United Kingdom, on the other hand, announced that it will send new long-range rocket artillery to Ukraine, despite the threats from Russia. The name of the multiple launch system to be sent is M270. These missile systems have a range of 50 miles and can target long-range artillery attacking cities in eastern Ukraine. This could completely change the course of the war. As you know, the Russian army, which has failed in the ground operation, is trying to corner the Ukrainian armed forces in the region with its artillery attacks. However, a Russian artillery that can be destroyed by the M270 MLRS at a distance of 80 kilometers cannot remain a threat to the Ukrainian armed forces. Vladimir Putin announced the other day that he would bomb new targets in Ukraine if similar heavy weapons and long-range missile systems were sent from the USA to Kiev. We will go into the details of this subject, but despite this threat, the UK has not given up on shipments to Ukraine. British Defence Minister Ben Wallace emphasized that with the change of Russia's tactics, its support to Ukraine should change and stated that the United Kingdom was completely right in its decision to send weapons to the region. If we go back to the subject of M270s, it is obvious that Russia cannot easily hit the Ukrainian lines from the sea and from the air. However, they can hit the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces from long distances with land artillery. For this reason, systems such as the M270 strengthen the hand of the Ukrainian armed forces in the region. However, while the United Kingdom was shipping these weapons to Ukraine, it asked Ukraine for a guarantee not to hit Russia with these weapons. The UK did not say how many M270s it sent, although the number is small and comparable to the US decision to send 4 HIMARS. At the same time, it was added that Ukrainian troops would be trained in how to use launchers in the UK, and that Kiev's forces would be provided with suitable rockets, in scale. The use of such weapons is easy to learn, and the Ukrainian armed forces actively uses these weapons in the region immediately after receiving them. We clearly witnessed this with the M777 howitzers. These weapons also completely change the fate of the region. Putin, on the other hand, increased his threat by expressing that if the USA delivered the HIMARS rocket artillery to Ukraine, they would hit targets they had not hit before. However, he did not specify exactly where these targets were. When we think about it, war broke out in almost every region in eastern Ukraine, and the Russian army has already launched massive bombardments on these areas. For this reason, the regions targeted by Putin are considered to be the western part of Ukraine. Currently, the Russian army, which is supported by the sea to bombard the west of Ukraine, is trying to hit western cities such as Lviv with submarines. So the new bombardment areas targeted by Putin are probably Ukrainian cities on the Polish-NATO borders. At the moment, Russia cannot bring its large landing craft to the shores thanks to the long-range anti-ship missiles sent to Ukraine. Cruise missiles launched from missile ships and submarines in the Black Sea can also be shot down by the Ukrainian Air Force. In this case, Russia may consider an attack from the Belarusian border, but this does not seem very likely at the moment. Because if Belarus is a partner in such an attack, it will mean that it opposes NATO, and Belarus may not dare to do so. Russian cruise missiles hit a railway depot in the eastern suburb of Dniprovsky in Kiev the other day. This was the first attack on Kiev in a very long time, and Putin was sending a clear message. We can hit any area we want whenever we want. However, this message is not very realistic. The Ukrainian Air Force said 5 cruise missiles were launched from Tu-95 bombers, one of which was intercepted, in an attack that represented a change in approach by the Russian forces. It seems highly unlikely that Russia will currently use warplanes in the region. Because the Ukrainian air defense systems shot down nearly 250 war and bomber aircraft, around 180 attack helicopters and more than 500 unmanned aerial vehicles so far, creating a great fear in Russian pilots. Russia does not want to feed this expensive equipment to the Ukrainian air defense systems. Because even in the slightest rapprochement, it was seen that the manpads and air defense systems supplied to Ukraine by its Western allies posed a great threat to the Russian Air Force. In a statement made by the Russian Ministry of Defense, it was stated that the cruise missiles sent from the Tu-95s targeted the T-72 tanks transferred from Europe to Ukraine, and said that it aimed to prevent the West's arms supply to Ukraine. Russia had previously stated in March that shipments to Ukraine were a legitimate target for Russia. However, Ukrainian officials state that these attacks did not damage any military infrastructure and targeted